everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of Jess's Writing Clubhouse. I am your host, Jessica Giaquinto, also known as J.A. Giaquinto. I am an author of LGBT romances, specifically the Hunter X Slayer series, which currently has 2 books out, The Hunter and the Cultist, and The Slayer and the Spy. So today I wanted to kind of give you first an update on everything that's kind of going on. There's a lot of moving parts that I have going on, such as I started drafting book 3, which is tentatively called The Abandoned One and the Professor, and I finished the novella that sits between the first book and second book, and I just need to start editing that, but I wanted to give it a couple of months to just chill, because it was a little difficult to write just because I'd already written the story before, and it was kind of a rehash. A lot of things that were going on at the time I was writing it actually have to do with this particular episode, but I'm also working on my series binder. It's slowly coming together. There's a lot of information I have to get down, but I'm slowly getting through that. And then I've started edits on the Hunter and the Cultist audiobook. It's slow, mostly because of what this topic is today, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it's just been difficult recently, and that kind of leads me into the subject for today, which is burnout, self-care, and toxic productivity. Now, these are 3 very personal topics for me, so if you hear me kind of getting a little choked up, I apologize just on the front end, because this is something that I've been dealing with for the last several months, probably the last year, if anything, if I'm being completely honest. But the first one I want to talk about is, what is burnout? I think all of us have felt burnout in one way or another, but burnout is when you have pushed yourself beyond your capabilities when doing any kind of work. If you do a hobby really staunchly, or if you're working multiple days back to back, no breaks whatsoever, just nose to the grindstone, just pushing yourself further than what you feel comfortable with, ignoring your own personal needs for downtime. And what that looks like and what kind of causes it is basically just overworking yourself and pushing yourself beyond what is acceptable for you to accept as far as a healthy work ethic. What happens is that you end up feeling a lot of fatigue. Your desire to do things that once gave you joy tend to no longer give you joy. It's like, you want to do it because it's something that you like, such as playing video games or going to hang out with friends. It just doesn't feel like you have the energy or even the time to do it. It's just, you feel almost numb, but you're also like super jazzed with energy. That's probably the best way I could describe it. It's like you are both tired and energized, but in like the wrong place and the wrong time kind of feeling. And what happens is that it makes work arduous. It makes the idea of going to work something that it's like, I don't want to. I don't want to do this. This is not what I want. Or, I know I want to do this, but I'm physically enabled to. And that can lead into a lot of like mental health issues or neurodivergencies and like executive dysfunction. But this one is something that goes much deeper than those tend to go, and it's really hard to bring yourself out of burnout. I read a study that said that in order to get yourself out of burnout, you actually need to take like 2 to 3 years of solid relaxation where you don't work at that really high capacity for like 2 to 3 years. And it's like living in a late stage capitalistic society, that's just not possible. And I personally have had a lot of burnout. When I first started writing, I literally only focused on one single series, the Reaper series, and I just did it every single day, and I burned out real quick. I didn't want to do anything with it. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to do anything with it. But I pushed through, and yeah, that could be seen as a good thing, but it also could be seen as me not giving myself the time to heal and to give me the self-care that I needed. And that kind of burnout leads into what a lot of people are talking about, which is toxic productivity. Being in a late stage capitalistic society, there is a culture around hustle where you always want to hustle, you always want to be working and getting more money and a better job, and you always want to be putting yourself out there and showing that you're an entrepreneur. And it looks at the capitalistic way of, it's like, oh well, I worked 16 hours today and I'm so tired, and they see that as a good thing. But then another person says, it's like, oh well, I just worked 24 hours in 48 hours. Like, it's weird that we are comparing working what is essentially 2 full shifts in a single day and taking it as a badge of honor. Like, my husband, he works in security, and it's not uncommon for him to get asked to work 12, 16, 18-hour shifts, and it's just seen as the norm. And a lot of people will be like, well, I've worked this and this hours, why are you tired? And that leads back into the burnout, because a lot of people who work those long hours, they get burned out real fast. And it's just a horrible mindset of, you always have to be working. Your time is constantly needing to be productive in a way that's going to earn you money. And I've noticed that with the writing community as well. It's like, if you aren't writing stuff that is going to be making you money, then it's a waste of time, or you're just dawdling. Like, my series binder work, it's not going to be something that's actually going to make me money on its own, but what it's doing is that it's helping me set a framework for my series, and it's helping me to remember things for my series. So it helps tangentially, but it's overall not a project that's going to make me money. And when we only do things like hobbies or work that is solely for the money, a lot of it loses its impact. I know a lot of people are like, well, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, that's not completely accurate, because I love writing. I've loved writing since I was a kid, but this is still work. This is still having to do stuff that is difficult, stuff that I don't want to do because it doesn't give me that boost of serotonin, because it's not fun. But it needs to be done because it needs to be done. And the problem with toxic productivity and how it affects your work is that when you try to monetize every single thing that you do, then nothing is just for yourself. It's always for content. And I've heard a lot of people on YouTube talk about, it's like, oh, well, if I'm going to be doing this, can I make it as content? And it's kind of insidious that it basically forces you to look at your hobbies. It's like, what is monetizable? What can I make money on? And what can I turn into a business? And it's really hard to like change your mindset when it comes to that, especially when you've grown up in the society that we have. And a lot of people don't see the problem with it, because of course we've all grown up in the same society where this kind of mindset is just the norm. And I think what is happening currently with everything coming from the pandemic pandemic. We're seeing a lot of people not necessarily taking away the work ethic that I grew up with, which was you be the first one in the office, be the last one to leave, you go above and beyond for your boss, you do whatever they need you to do, and you basically bend over backwards to make yourself available for your boss. That was how I was raised to have a particular work ethic, and my husband has the same thing. But now it's like employers are seeing that people are no longer willing or able to go that extra mile for them, because they're not being treated with the respect that they deserve. Like, yeah, you're giving us a paycheck, but you come in here, micromanage, you treat us like garbage, you don't do anything but yell at us, and you expect us to go above and beyond for you. And I hear a lot of people talking about like quiet quitting, where you just do what your job is entailing, you don't do anything past that. And I honestly think that's actually a good idea. It's like, especially if you need to, I think this is just an all around good thing, because it's like, if you're being paid for the work, then you do the work. If you're not being paid for all this extra work, then why are you doing it? Are you doing it just to look good for your boss, or what? And if that's what you choose to do, no harm, no foul. I personally just think it could lead to burnout real quick, because you are pushing yourself beyond your means. Now, what does this all lead to? How do we deal with burnout and toxic productivity? Well, self-care. And self-care has a very broad kind of definition, but basically what I've kind of come to the realization of is that self-care is basically taking care of yourself. I know that's really self-explanatory, but basically what it is that you look at the things that make you happy, the things that you are doing just for yourself, not for monetization, not for anyone else but you. It's something that is very selfish in a way. Basically, it's a way for you to take back your time and be a little bit selfish with it. And for a lot of people, that's a very difficult concept, because we're trained, it's like, you need to be selfless, you need to always think of others, you need to always be considerate of others. And I'm not saying that you don't have to do that, because being considerate of others is very important. But something I've heard from my grandfather and my great-grandfather, when it comes to the list of life, put your name 3 times first and take care of yourself. And I think that's a lesson that we should really consider, because this world is already so difficult and we have such a short time here on this earth, that spending it hustling and grinding all the time, just burning ourselves out, constantly thinking that working 16-hour days is going to make us happy. Now, if it does make you happy, goodwill on you, because you are a rare unicorn. But for the rest of us, it's okay to be selfish with your time. It is okay to do something that's not going to earn you any money, that you purely enjoy because it's something you purely enjoy doing. Here's an example for me. I play Minecraft. Now, a lot of people play Minecraft so that they can beat the Ender Dragon, the big boss of the game. I don't do that. I literally make just a world and I break down mountains. I break down mountains, I make everything flat. I just go mining. I save everything. And I just do this mindless stuff while listening to YouTube videos or podcasts or audiobooks. And this serves no other purpose other than it makes me happy. I also do paint by diamonds, which also doesn't do anything for me monetarily. It's just something I enjoy doing. It helps me de-stress. I've done adult coloring. I've done just yarn braiding. I've done knitting, and just these little things that have allowed me to just breathe and relax and just be okay with taking some time for myself. And the last year for me has been very difficult, both emotionally and mentally. And basically at the start of the year, I decided that I was going to try to fix the things in my life that I was not happy with. One of them was obviously my mental health. I was burned out. I had lost my grandfather. I had lost a lot of family members. And I was not happy. So I started getting work on my mental health. I started not beating myself up for having to take the self-care days. And especially this last month was difficult because of multiple anniversaries of family members' deaths. And I took a lot of self-care days where I didn't do anything but the bare minimum of what I need to do for the household. And I'm still trying to come out of that, which might mean that some podcast episodes are late or not every Thursday, but I'm going to be trying to not leave such large gaps in between episodes, because I know that the longer the gaps go, the more likely I won't come back to it. So I'm using this as a fair warning that I am taking some selfish time to take care of myself so that I don't burn out again, because burnout is not fun and it's exhausting. It's something that I think multiple people are able to understand and identify with, because we're all tired. We're all so tired of just holding everyone and everything on our shoulders. And I hope that whoever is listening to this understands that it's okay to be selfish with your time. It's okay to do things that don't earn you money. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a mean-spirited person if relationships aren't serving you either. Like, the burnout is not just work focus, it could also be relationships are burning you out. It's okay to be selfish with your time, your energy, and your surroundings. Protect yourself. Protect your emotions, protect your mental state, protect your physical body. Because, as I said before, we have a very short time on this earth, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable if you find a balance between working hard and being proud of your work, but also taking that time to rest and find things that bring you joy. So, where do we go from here after I've been on my soapbox? Well, I don't really know exactly where to go from here, because I'm still dealing with the burnout and the emotions from everything, but I'm just going to take it day by day and make sure that I take care of myself the best I can. If that means getting only a handful of things done during the day and then spending the rest of it playing Minecraft and just destroying a mountain, then that's what happens that day, and that's okay. If the best you can do is get out of bed and make yourself the fixins for a sandwich, that's okay too. We all have those days where we can conquer the world and we can get so many things done and take care of our entire to-do list. And then there are days when the idea of getting out of bed and getting food is difficult. It's like climbing Mount Everest. And those days are going to come regardless of whether you want them or not. But it's okay. I promise you it's okay. So, on that incredibly sad happy note. I want to thank you all for listening. I know I don't have a very large audience right now, but I appreciate everyone who listens to my podcast. And I love you all, and I'll be happy to see you guys in the next one, and hope you enjoy listening. So if you want to hit me up on any of my socials, I'm always available. So thank you all for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.